Good morning. Welcome to a quick grounded hip practice. We're going to start in a kneeling seat, just beginning closing the eyes down, hips sitting on the back of the heels. You can rest the backs of the palm on the backs of the hands on the thighs. Begin to check in with your breath. Taking deep inhales, long exhales. Deep inhale through the nose, fill up, feel the belly expand, chest rise. Hold it at the top, let it circulate. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. And more just like that. Inhale, the nose filled up. Hold it at the top. And exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. Another one just like that. Begin to inhale through the nose. The purpose of getting into the hips, exhale out through the mouth, is to release stagnant emotion, stagnant old energy that we may be storing there, especially women. We carry a lot on our pelvic floor and our hips. And when we're able to release the emotional storage of our hips, then we are able to create a lot more space for new emotions and honestly just the ability to process them and allow them to move through us instead of holding on to them. Allow your natural rhythm of breath to return. Notice how your energy is shifted already just through the movement of your breath. We'll be finding some stillness in the hips, but know that the movement is always there through the breath. So continue to return back to deepening your inhales and lengthening out through your exhales so that you can move a little bit easier throughout the practice. We're going to rise onto our knees, stacking the hips over the knees. Send the right leg out long beside you. Take an inhale to sweep both arms up overhead. Drop the right arm down to the thigh and lift the left arm over. Sending your chest or your heart up to the sky a bit more. Feeling this huge side body stretch. Breathe in. On an inhale, rise back up. Sit your hips back on your heels. Walk your fingertips forward. Breathe in, begin to play around by shifting the hips back and forth over the knees and over the heels. Feeling this wake up the ball and socket joint of your hip. One more inhale. Walk the fingertips back up. Walk your fingers over towards your right foot, but still out in front of you. So creating a little activation of the right outer seam of your whole leg and into your hip. Breathe in. Return the fingertips back to center. Bring your right knee back down to the ground and then send your left foot out long, rising up onto the knee. Breathe in. Drop the left palm over, or the right arm over. The left palm comes down to the thigh. Can you shine your left collarbone up to the sky a little bit more, creating space? Breathing in, side body stretch. Next inhale, we'll rise back up. Sit the hips back down on the heels. Walk the fingertips forward, taking a nice stretch here. Inhale to shift the hips back and forth. Feeling that hip ball and socket joint. Creating a little bit more fluidity in the hip. One more breath in. We'll return back to a stacked position. Walk your hands over your left foot. Again, activating the outer seam of your left leg, all the way up from the heel to the hip. Taking a deep breath in. Walk the palms back out in front of you, and then send the left knee back down. Let's take 2 rounds of cat-cow. Inhale to drop the belly, send the gaze up to the sky. Exhale, round out through the spine. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, round out, shoulder blades separate, back of the heart shines up. One more. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale, round out. On an inhale, we'll extend the right leg behind. Left arm reaches out long. They both come to a hover. Tuck the tummy in, allowing everything to rise up here. On an exhale, cactus the arm, cactus the knee. Fire hydrant. Hold it. Feel this little fire. Breathe in. Drop the left arm down, and then begin to make little circles with a bent right knee. Drawing circles with the knee. Waking up through the right hip. Lower your right knee back down. Send your left leg out behind you. Bring your right arm long. Bring them both to a counterbalance hover. Suck everything up to the sky. As you exhale, cactus your right elbow. Bend your left knee, fire hydrant. Hold it here. Feel this little heat. Flex the toes back towards the knee. Breathe in, lower the right arm back down, and then make circles with your left knee. Again, waking up through the left hip. Getting some mobility. Maybe you change directions. And then send your left leg out long. As you exhale, you'll step it in between your palms. Coming into a low lunge. Rise up, upper body stacks over the hips. Bend and sink a little deeper into that left hip. Inhale to reach. Exhale, both palms come on the inside of your left foot. Coming into a lizard pose, you can stay here, or maybe you lower down to your elbows. If you stay lifted, option to roll onto the outer edge of your left foot, opening up through your hip just a bit more. Breathe in and out. I'm going to lower down to my elbows here. This is quite an active stretch for being such a short video. Two more breaths. Again, keeping your breath as your movement here. Keeping your breath deep and long so that you can get deeper into the pose and release more by doing less. Your next inhale, rise back up if you're lowered. Begin to walk your toe far out and then send the left knee back to meet the right. Wiggle the hips from side to side. Your right leg will lift to a little hover, and then we'll step it right through in between the palms, rising up onto a low lunge on the opposite side. Breathe in, maybe again shifting the hips back and forth, trying to find a little bit of fluidity here. Big breath to reach, find stillness. And as you exhale, both palms come to the center or on the inside of your left foot. Again, maybe you explore rolling onto the outer edge of your right foot. Maybe you lower yourself down here. Maybe you keep the toe tucked and your left leg lifted, or remain connected to the ground. Wherever you're at, find what feels good. We're going to find stillness, deepening the inhales and lengthening out through the exhales. 2 more breaths. Your next inhale, rise back up if you're lowered. Maybe take a few rocks and then walk your right foot out, out, out. And then swing your right leg back around. Move through a child's pose and then into a tabletop. Just continuing to create some fluid movement. We're going to shift the hips to the left, forward, to the right, and back. Option to even come up onto the knees, lifting the sky here. One more round. And then we'll meet right back up into a tabletop. We're going to come into a frog. So both knees come out wide like you're coming into a split. Your ankles will stack directly behind your knees, and you can flex your toes out to the side like you were pointing your big toe back towards your knee. And then maybe this is enough, or maybe you'd like to lower your upper body down. The further that you shift your hips back in space, the more active this is going to be for your hips. The further you shift forward, the less active it's going to be for your hips. So it's about finding what feels good. You can get as deep into this as you'd like. It's already a pretty active stretch. So we're going to stay here for a few rounds of breath, again, using the breath to create movement. So being directional with your breath. As you inhale, send it to your hips. As you exhale, feel a release out of the hips, sinking a little deeper into your mat. Inhale, sending it to your hips. Exhale to feel a little release, a little more space. This is going to be our most active stretch that we take for the hips. They all feel a little different in everybody's body, so maybe one really affects you a little bit deeper, but this is probably the most active, intense hip stretch that we're going to take throughout the practice, so we are going to find depth here. Three more rounds of breath. Inhale, begin to shift forward, drawing the knees a little closer to each other, using the help of the toes to get you out of this. And then from here, just take a child's pose. Knees come together, hips shift back towards the heels. We're gonna move through onto our backs. So lower all the way down to the ground, however you like to get there. Allow the knees to drop in together, the feet to walk out to the outer edges of your mat to counter that frog stretch. Feel the relief of this here. And then we're going to walk the heels back to the just beyond the glutes, just right next to the glutes. We're going to take a reclined pigeon. So the left ankle, or the left knee will bend. The left ankle will stack over the right thigh. You can interlace the palms behind the right thigh to draw your hip in a bit closer to you. Option to rock back and forth to find stillness. You can use your left palm to push your left knee away, creating a little bit more space. Breathing in. Exhale to lower, unravel, stack your right ankle on top of your left thigh, and then draw. Maybe you interlace the palms behind the left thigh, drawing it in closer. Maybe you keep your left foot planted and your right arm will straighten. Your right hand will push your right knee away. Those are options. Find what feels good for you. Movement, maybe stillness. Your next exhale, begin to lower your left foot if it's raised. Unravel your right leg. Windshield wiper your knees from side to side. We'll draw the left leg in and over for a supine twist. So send it over the right side body. Left arm goes out long, gazing over your left shoulder. Feeling this whole spinal detoxification. Inhale to draw back in the center, send the left leg long. Right knee comes into the upper body, and then send the right knee over to the left. Gazing over your right shoulder, opening your right arm out to a T. Your next inhale, draw your right knee back into center. Take whatever you'd like before we move into Shavasana. We're going to end in Shavasana today. So heels will draw into the midline, toes will go out wide. You can maybe place your hands on your hips if that feels good. Or maybe down on the ground, maybe palms face up to the sky. I like to place my palms on my hips and just send some energy to the hips. So as I inhale, envisioning a light coming in through the crown of my head, all the way down through my arms, through the palms, and into the hips. Inhaling a light coming in through the top of my head, traveling down into my hips through my palms. Using the breath to deepen here. Feeling this release through the hips, through the sacral chakra. One more breath in. As deep as you can, as deep as you have all day. One more sip at the top. Hold it. Allow the light to circulate throughout the hips. Breath to circulate throughout the body. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. Allow yourself to sink deeper into the mat. Allow yourself to relax. I'm going to end practice here today. Take whatever you need. If you'd like to stay here for a while. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. I post videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you'd like to follow along, subscribe.